Hello, everybody. It is I, the Desert Viking, once again, esoteric Freemason, student of the mystery schools, and today we are going to get back into some Hermetic philosophy from the Kybalion. Today's topic will be on Chapter 9 of the Kybalion, which is on vibration, which is one of my more preferred chapters, one of my favorite chapters, and which we'll discuss a little bit afterwards. If you're new to the channel, what we've been doing is what I call the workers or the builder's workshop, or one of the most common questions I get asked during meetups or at lodge is, where do you even begin studying esoteric knowledge? There's so much, and it's like a fire hose. And so what I wanted to do is take things back to basics and kind of go through what I would do if I was starting over again, if I had an actual teacher. And I've had several teachers throughout my life, but you tend in these studies to start in the middle. That's very common. And then you start to pick up things around you. But sometimes it's nice to be at least have some guideposts or, a little bit of a, hey, check this book out. One thing to note with the esoteric paths are everyone's path is different. Everyone's path, you will be blazing your own trail. You won't be walking behind someone's footsteps, or you shouldn't be walking behind someone's footsteps. So keep that in mind. If you're interested in more Hermetic philosophy, I've got some books here that I can recommend to you. The first is The Divine Pymander of Hermes Trismegistus. This goes into more depth. In fact, I would say the Kybalion is based off a lot of the writings in the Divine Pymander. Manly P. Hall has the life and teachings of Hermes Trismegistus. Manly P. Hall is an author that you're going to hear a lot about, at least from me, because he wrote a lot of very interesting things and was one of the more prolific writers of the early to mid 20th century and did lectures all the way through the late 20th century before he passed. And we have the Hermetica. That's another one that you might be interested in. And last, the cornerstone of cornerstones, the very first book I would ever recommend. And if I was running my own mystery school, this book would be in the first year curriculum, The Secret Teachings of the Ages by Manly P. Hall. This is a very thick book, but what this is essentially every esoteric subject you can think of in one book. And what he does is he shallowly goes through them all. So he talks a little bit about them. And at the end of that book, you would have a base understanding of all the different mystery schools, esoteric subjects, etc., what they are, and just a kind of a little bit of knowledge on everything. Nothing deep, but you would have baselines to go, okay, I'm really interested in alchemy. I know what that is now. I'm really interested in Freemasonry. I know what that is now. So it's a good book for that. All right. Enough of all that. Thank you for coming along for the ride. Let's look at Chapter 9, Vibrations. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. The great third Hermetic principle, the principle of vibration, embodies the truth that motion is manifest in everything in the universe, that nothing is at rest, that everything moves, vibrates, and circles. This Hermetic principle was recognized by some of the early Greek philosophers who embodied it in their systems. But then for centuries it was lost sight of by the thinkers outside of the Hermetic ranks. But in the 19th century, physical science rediscovered the truth. In the 20th century, scientific discoveries have added additional proof of the correctness and truth of this centuries-old Hermetic doctrine. Again, bearing in mind, this book was written in 1908, so at the very dawn of the 20th century. The Hermetic teachings are that not only is everything in constant movement and vibration, but that the differences between the various manifestations of the universal power are due entirely to the varying rate and mode of vibrations. Not only this, but that even the all, in itself, manifests a constant vibration of such an infinite degree of intensity and rapid motion that it may be practically considered to be at rest. The teachers directing the attention of the students to the fact that even on the physical plane, a rapidly moving object, such as a revolving wheel, looks to be at rest. Think about this from the point of view if you're looking at a car traveling down the highway. The wheels look like they're not moving, or helicopter blades that are spinning so fast they look like they're not moving. The teachings are to the effect that spirit is at one end of the pole of vibration, the other pole being certain extremely gross forms of matter. Between these two poles are millions upon millions of different rates and modes of vibration. Modern science has proven that all that we call matter and energy are but modes of vibratory motion, and some of the more advanced scientists are rapidly moving towards the position of the occultists who hold that the phenomena of mind are likewise modes of vibration or motion. Let us see what science has to say regarding the question of vibration in matter and energy. In the first place, science teaches that all matter manifests in some degree the vibrations arising from temperature or heat. Be an object cold or hot, being both but degrees of the same things, it manifests certain heat vibrations, and in that sense is in motion and vibration. Then all particles of matter are in circular movement, from corpuscle to sun. The planets revolve around suns, and many of them turn on their axes. The suns move around greater central points, and these are believed to move around still greater, and so on ad infinitum. The molecules of which the particular kinds of matter are composed are in a state of constant vibration and movement around each other and against each other. The molecules are composed of atoms, which likewise are in a state of constant movement and vibration. The atoms are composed of corpuscles, sometimes called electrons, ions, etc., which also are in a state of rapid motion, revolving around each other, and which manifest a very rapid state and mode of vibration. And so we can see that all forms of matter manifest vibration, in accordance with the Hermetic principle of vibration. And it is so with the various forms of energy. Science teaches that light, heat, magnetism, and electricity are but forms of vibratory motion connected in some way with and probably emanating from the ether. Science does not as yet attempt to explain the nature of the phenomena known as cohesion, which is the principle of molecular attraction, nor chemical affinity, which is the principle of atomic attraction, nor gravitation, the greatest mystery of the three, which is the principle of attraction by which every particle or mass of matter is bound to every other particle or mass. These three forms of energy are not as yet understood by science, yet the writers incline to the opinion that these two are manifestations of some form of vibratory energy, a fact which the Hermeticists have held and taught for ages past. The universal ether, which is postulated by science without its nature being understood clearly, is held by the Hermeticists to be but a higher manifestation of that which is erroneously called matter, that is to say, matter at a higher degree of vibration, and is called by them the ethereal substance. The Hermeticists teach that this ethereal substance is of extreme tenuity and elasticity, and pervades universal space, serving as a medium of transmission of waves of vibratory energy, such as heat, light, electricity, magnetism, etc. The teachings are that the ethereal substance is a connecting link between the forms of vibratory energy known as matter, on the one hand, and energy or force, on the other, and also that it manifests a degree of vibration in rate and mode, entirely its own. Scientists have offered the illustration of a rapidly moving wheel, top, or cylinder to show the effects of increasing rates of vibration. The illustration supposes the wheel, top, or revolving cylinder running at a low rate of speed. We will call this revolving thing the object. In following out the illustration, let us suppose the object moving slowly. It may be seen readily, but no sound of its movement reaches your ear. The speed is gradually increased. In a few moments, its movements become so rapid that a deep growl or low note may be heard. Then as the rate is increased, the note rises one in the musical scale. Then the motion being still further increased, the next highest note will be distinguished. Then one after another, all of the notes of the musical scale will appear, rising higher and higher as the motion is increased. Finally, when the motions have reached a certain rate, the final note, perceptible to human ears, will be reached, and the shrill, piercing shriek will die away, and silence follows. No sound will be heard from the revolving object, the rate of motion being so high that our human ear cannot register the vibration. Then comes a perception of rising degrees of heat. Then after quite a time, the eye catches a glimpse of the object becoming a dull, dark red color. As the rate increases, this red will become brighter. Then as the speed is increased, the red will melt into orange. Then the orange will melt into yellow. Then follow successfully the shades of green, blue, indigo, and finally violet as the rate of speed increases. Then the violet will shade away and all color will disappear, the human eye not being able to register them. But there are invisible rays emanating from the revolving object, the rays that are used in photography and other subtle rays of light. Then begin to manifest the peculiar rays known as X-rays, etc., as the constitution of the object begins to change. Electricity and magnetism are emitted when the appropriate rate of vibration is attained. When the object reaches a certain rate of vibration, its molecules disintegrate and resolve themselves into the original elements or atoms. Then the atoms, following the principle of vibration, will be separated into the countless corpuscles of which they are composed. And finally, even those corpuscles disappear, and the object may be said to be composed of the ethereal substance. Science does not dare to follow the illustration further, but the Hermeticists teach that if the vibrations be continually increased, the object would mount up the successive states of manifestation and would in turn manifest the various mental stages, and then on spirit, until it would finally re-enter the all, which is absolute spirit. The object, however, would have ceased to be an object long before the stage of ethereal substance was reached. But otherwise, the illustration is correct inasmuch as it shows the effect of constantly increased rates and modes of vibration. It must be remembered in the above illustration that at the stages at which the object throws off vibrations of light, heat, etc., it is not actually resolved into those forms of energy, but simply that it reaches a degree of vibration in which those forms of energy are liberated, to a degree, from the confining influence of its molecules, atoms, and corpuscles, as the case may be. These forms of energy, although much higher in the scale than matter, are imprisoned and confined in the material combinations by reason of the energies manifesting through and using material forms, but thus becoming entangled and confined in their creations of material forms, which is, to an extent, true of all creation, the creating force becoming involved in its creation. The Hermetic teachings go much further than do that of modern science. They teach that all manifestation of thought, emotion, reason, will, or desire, or any mental state or condition are accompanied by vibration, a portion of which are thrown off and which tend to affect the minds of other persons by induction. This is the principle which produces the phenomena known as telepathy, mental influence, and other forms of the action and power of mind over mind, with which the general public is rapidly becoming acquainted owing to the wide dissemination of occult knowledge by the various schools, cults, and teachers along those lines at this time. And this book was written in 1908. And today, over 100 years later, I call this the woo-woo, but the woo-woo is everywhere. You can read all about this stuff. Some of it true, some of it maybe a little bit more half-baked, but let's continue. Every thought, emotion, or mental state has its corresponding rate and mode of vibration. And by an effort of the will of the person or by other people, these mental states may be reproduced just as a musical tone may be reproduced by causing an instrument to vibrate at a certain rate, just as color may be reproduced in the same way. By a knowledge of the principle of vibration, as applied to mental phenomena, one may polarize his mind at any degree he wishes, thus gaining a perfect control over his mental states, moods, etc. In the same way, he may affect the minds of others, producing the desired mental states in them. In short, he may be able to produce on the mental plane that which science produces on the physical plane, namely, vibrations at will. This power, of course, may be acquired only by the proper instruction, exercises, and practice, the science being that of mental transmutation, one of the branches of the Hermetic art. A little reflection on what we have said will show the students that the principle of vibration underlies the wonderful phenomena of the power manifested by the masters and adepts, who are able to apparently set aside the laws of nature, but who in reality are simply using one law against another, one principle against others, and who accomplish their results by changing the vibrations of material objects or forms of energy, and thus perform what are commonly called miracles or magic. As one of the old Hermetic writers has truly said, he who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power. And thus concludes chapter 9. It was a short one, a short but very powerful one. Vibrations, as I alluded to earlier, is one of my favorite chapters in all of the Hermetic teachings and beyond. In fact, vibrations were studied by psychologists and is still something being looked at today for therapy. Think about music for a moment. So music is one of the 7 liberal arts of Freemasonry. or one of the 7 liberal arts that used to be practiced. Freemasonry refers to them. Music is a very, very powerful thing. And anyone watching this can attest to that. Without being involved in any mystery schools, just by living on this world, you know that music is a powerful thing. This is why music is incorporated in churches. When you go to a concert and you hear a particular piece that moves you and it plays, and you feel all the hair on the back of your arm stand up in your neck, that's the power of vibrations. I played in bands for many years. I was a drummer. And my music of choice was heavy metal. And the reason why my music of choice was heavy metal is, well, because I'm, I would say, number one, I have a lot of masculine energy, and I like to get it out in constructive ways. But it's a very aggressive form of music. It's a very powerful form of music, and it makes me feel a certain way that I enjoy and let me get out, in a good way, and produce that type of music through drumming. It was a good workout, too. But the vibrations produced by the music on stage, when we would create music on stage, that's probably one of my favorite periods of my life, is creating that. And that's just music. We all vibrate, as was alluded to. Every piece of matter out there today vibrates. This card stock vibrates. My phone vibrates. Well, my phone vibrates when someone's trying to get a hold of me too, but you know what I mean. By sitting at rest, it's actually vibrating. We all have distinguishable resting vibrations. And they say, like, even rocks and minerals have vibrations. And animals have vibrations. And nature branches will follow that. Minerals and animals also have souls that humans, us, we were at one time rocks and plants and animals, as we've come back over and over and we've built upon ourselves, and now we're people. And humans are only part of the way to the transcended, the all, right? You still have, angels, the angelic choirs, the archangels. There's levels above us that we have not quite made it to. If you study theosophy, not to get too far off the beaten path here, but theosophy talked about the 7 human epochs, or the 7 races of humanity. And we currently live today in the 5th epoch. So there's two to come. That's a fascinating topic, and maybe I'll talk about that in a different video. But there's a lot of ways we grow, and our vibrations increase. And as your vibrations increase, you'll notice, I've noticed a couple things. Number one, most of the world sits at a lower vibration. And these are being studied psychologically. The levels of thought, as I believe they're called, there's different levels of thought where, I just think of myself and my base needs, and then I start to realize that there's other people involved, and then I start to realize that my actions impact those people, and maybe I shouldn't do that, and so on and on and on. That's raising your vibratory level by being aware of that. And as you grow in this world and the next, you're supposed to be raising your vibration level as you're picking up on these things. But you'll notice, because most of the material world is sitting at a lower vibration, the speculation being that those are new souls coming in. The ones that are on a higher vibration, we kind of hit sour notes with those people. At least I've noticed that. So if you think of a bell, and you hit a bell and it makes a sound, and you hit another bell of a different tune and it makes a sound, one of two things happens. Well, one of three things happens. Either they're the same bell and the sound melds into each other flawlessly. The sound of the two notes complements each other, and the vibrations work with each other, and is a pleasing result. Or the vibrations clash and they're sour. And that's what I notice, like in my life. Maybe you've noticed this in your life. If you're watching these videos and you're interested in this, I have a feeling that this is a common thing I've noticed, is that you don't really get along with a lot of people because the notes that you generate are sour to those people. And as you rise higher, other people below will lose interest in you or be repelled by you. That's normal. That's the law of vibration, I find. That does not mean, and I want to double underline this, that does not mean that the higher you rise in vibration makes you better than anyone, because that is totally not what I'm trying to say here at all. But what I'm saying is, as you rise, as your vibrations rise, you become less and less interested in the material world around you. This is how, when you look at true gurus, like the monks that live in the mountains far away from civilization, they are perfectly happy and content to live their tiny little peaceful life without chasing power and women and money and all these other things that we do on a day-to-day basis. The higher you vibrate, the less interested you are in the material world. And the less interested you are in the material world, the more of a sour note you're going to generate with other people. And the true power starts to come in the key. You remember way back in the beginning, we talked about, the Kybalion talks about, this is the master key. Once you put all of these practices in place, you have a master key. And this is kind of why I chose this as the first steps to walk in for you all and for myself to refresh myself on it. Once you have gained control over yourself and your mind, you have gained control over your vibrations. You can raise and lower them at will. You can control your emotions. You can control your area around yourself. And by doing that, you have the ability then through induction to stand next to other people. And you notice these people that if they're in a perpetually bad mood, that no one wants to be around them because then they get into being in a bad mood. It kind of wears off on them, right? And then you have other people who they just radiate this energy that's fulfilling and it's nice to be around, and those attract other people. That's the law of induction. That's what we're talking about here. You have the ability to start to influence the things around you. And that is where vibration starts to play a key role. And that's why in this case, it's the third Hermetic principle. So I want you to think a little bit about that. Think of the different ways vibrations play a role in your life. That could be through music. That could be through your attitude, your moods, how you perceive life, your perspectives. All of those play a role in your vibration. Have a meditation on it and kind of try to pick up on where your vibration is right now. And then try to find ways to adjust that vibration. Try to raise and lower it and see what kind of results you get. And I'd be interested to hear your results. That's all I've got for today. Thank you for coming along for the ride here and talking a little bit about Hermetic philosophy. I look forward to future talks, and the next time we meet, we'll be going to the next Hermetic principle. So, if you like the video, give it a like. If you like what you're hearing here, give me a subscribe. And I look forward to future talks. Thank you much. Stay safe, stay blessed, and until next time.